Thank you guys so much for staying with me through 2020. And if you saw the title of this video, I'm actually going to be talking about a bunch of stuff, but I'm going to make it brief, because what's the point of rambling on and on if it's just about myself? I also want you to learn something. I would make it brief and go straight to the point, but more than anything else that I'm going to say, I'm really happy to see you, and I'm really happy that you're watching me like right now. When you're watching this, I recorded this on the 1st of January 2021, so it's Happy New Year for me to you. I love you. I'm going to be talking to you about self-doubt, criticisms, why I was absent for the last few months of last year before getting to the 1st of January this month. So, quick one, what is self-criticism? It's basically criticizing yourself, trying to pick at the things you do and say, I'm not good enough. Self-criticism may not be bad in itself, even if it actually makes you improve or do better, but sometimes self-criticism just makes you resign and not want to do stuff again. They're talking about doubts. What are doubts? Doubts is basically not believing. That is just what it is, disbelief, not believing. So self-criticism, self-doubts, how did it come to play in the last few months for me in January 2021? So the last few months in 2020, I was working remotely and I was doing a lot of stuff. I felt like I was always busy, but I didn't like what I was doing. I wasn't feeling really passionate about what I was doing. I wasn't even feeling satisfied with the returns. So I just felt like I was losing on both ends. I wasn't satisfied with the returns and I wasn't okay with what I was doing, but I was doing my job well based on the standards of what I was supposed to do. But that is why fulfillment is more important than working to earn money, working to do something random, because there's always going to be work, there's always going to be something to do, but is it going to make you fulfilled? Are you going to be alright doing it? Before, I would have said I wanted any job that's going to earn me a lot of money. That is fine if you're just going to do something small, something that doesn't take so much of your investment and the returns is going to be a lot. But if you're going to invest yourself in something, your time, your resources, and it's not something you're passionate about, it's just going to be a big mess. So that was probably what I was dealing with then, those few months. So I really doubted myself. I questioned myself. What did I want to do? What was I living for? Not what was I living for, more like what did I want to spend my time doing? What exactly did I want to spend my time doing? What? You may be asking yourself these same questions that I asked myself at the end of last year. You may have also asked yourself these questions at the end of last year. You may be asking yourself these questions right now at the beginning of 2021. And I want to let you know that it's totally fine to go through that phase. It could take a long time, it could take a short time, it could take months like me, like the months I spent off YouTube. I think in December and November, I wasn't even posting that much on my Instagram stories. I like to post stuff on Instagram stories almost every day, but I wasn't doing that because I just felt I had nothing to say, I had nothing to share. I always saw myself as this cheerleader, cheering people on, and I felt like I didn't have enough in me to cheer other people on. I had my own cheerleader, someone who was cheering me on, but I felt I couldn't cheer someone else on per se, because for you to to tell people you can do this, you believe in yourself, don't doubt, go ahead, go for it. You need to also believe in yourself. You need to also believe that you're capable. So I was starting to ask myself a lot of questions about so many things, about what I was doing, career, and stuff like that. And I decided to share this because, if you've seen my last videos, you would think I have my stuff put together. I talk about setting goals, I talk about mindfulness, I talk about living in the present. I talk about so many stuff that you would feel that Excel should have her life put together. But I decided to make this video at the beginning of the year and talk about these things because this is me being bare. This is me just being frank with you and letting you know how it has been for me. It doesn't mean that I don't know the things that I talk about. It doesn't mean that I don't know how to set goals. I don't know how to plan. I don't know how to prepare. I don't know how to, do these important things that could put your life in perspective. It simply means that I'm human, and stuff like this happens. You get to a point in time, you ask yourself certain questions. Sometimes these questions would lead you to become better. These questions would help you understand yourself better. These questions will help you take better decisions, help you live better than you were living before. And sometimes these questions would mean stopping what you've been doing before and going on a new path. But all in all, everyone gets to ask themselves these questions. I'm not greater than that. And if you ever are in that position, or if you're in that position right now, I want you to know that it's alright. It's alright to be confused. It's alright to ask yourself these questions. I think what is more important than struggling with self-doubt and criticism is knowing that you're struggling with something. It just takes you sitting down to ask yourself, what am I going through right now? Like, what am I going through right now? What is this feeling that I'm having? You need to define it. It's hard to define it sometimes because I've learned this past months, just before 2021, I learned something that when I'm feeling a certain way, I try to define that feeling. What am I feeling right now? What is this? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling disappointed? Like, I try to define that feeling as much as possible because it gives you clarity in the confusion. So the first step in understanding, like if you're struggling with self-doubt, self-criticism, is to define the feelings. What are you feeling? Put a name to it. If it doesn't have a name, come up with one. Explain it in a long string of words that you feel don't make sense. But if it makes sense to you to explain the feeling, then do it. You need to define that feeling. You need to explain it, because if you don't know what you're up against, then what are you up against? It needs to have a name for you to attack it. Intentional changes. I say writing stuff not because I'm a writer, because I like to write, but because when you pen things down, it's like you're taking a step further from defining that feeling. I talked about defining the feelings. It's important to define your feelings. But when you now take a step down to write, some call it journaling, some call it taking random notes, some call it keeping a diary. I don't keep a diary, I don't journal every day, but sometimes I just write like little bits of things that I feel. It takes you a step further from the feeling. So you have a feeling, you define it, you give a name to it. Now you've given a name to it, it's time to write your way out of it. Writing your way out of it could be writing, it could be speaking to someone, it could be now thinking of, okay, this is this feeling, and this is the feeling I want to stop feeling, this is the feeling I want to get over, so how do I do it? Now I'm going to give you a very good example in my life. I've been working on a book project for a while now, and I reached a point where, like in December, I completed my first draft, my first manuscript, and I was like, okay, I can take a break now. But I knew that it wasn't okay. Like, I still needed to do a lot of work on that manuscript. So luckily, I applied for a course and I got a scholarship for a writing course. Now, here it is. I have the course that could help me improve my manuscript, but I wasn't still taking the course. My manuscript was there. There was a course that was going to help me take that manuscript from being where it was to where it should be, but I wasn't taking the course. So I had to define that feeling. What is going on now, Excel? You have a manuscript, you have a course that would help you publish. Why are you not taking the course? So I started thinking of, what is this feeling? I realized that anytime I think about my manuscript, anytime I think about my story, it felt like something was missing, and I didn't feel capable of coming up with an idea to fill that missing gap. There's a difference between a mainstream story, a mainstream novel, and a novel that's going to be like a New York Times bestseller. You get what I mean? So I felt like my story was missing a huge differentiating factor, and I had to think of that differentiating factor. I knew that taking that course wasn't going to give me what was going to make my story stand out. It was something I had to think about, and I was afraid that I couldn't think about it. So that was how I broke down that feeling. I said, what am I feeling right now? I feel fear, I feel doubt, I feel like I can't come up with something good enough, like this is going to fail. That was basically how I felt, and I had to break it down. So after understanding, okay, I feel I cannot move this story from being mainstream to being a bestseller. I feel I cannot come up with this differentiating factor. So how do I move from here? Moving from here, I decided that I was going to take action. Taking action was writing for me. not writing in the literal sense of going to write a story, but taking action was simply thinking more of what's going to be this differentiating factor. I might as well start the course. If the course is going to take my story from mainstream to best, it simply means that there's something in that course that I need to know that could even help me in my thinking process. So instead of being afraid and hiding from both the course, thinking that when I take the course, nothing is going to come out the way it should, I might as well start the course. So it's super important to understand the feeling. So these things are just one of the numerous struggles that I dealt with during those past months, from November, October, December, that's kept me away from YouTube for a while. So if you have any other questions, if you want to share how you felt, I spoke about struggling with different stuff in this video and why I was absent for a long time. So if you have stuff like that you want to share, feel free to drop comments. Feel free to send me a DM. I will put my Instagram handle in the description box. So you can reach out to me on Instagram and say hi. And I will see you in the next video, which will come next week. I promise. Bye. Bye.